Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadidamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Namaste and welcome. I'm Alexandra Savithri of the Vedic Healing Center and the American Reiki Academy. I'm a Reiki master for the past 33 years and a Vedic healing master of the past 25 years. I'm also a feng shui teacher and a spiritual life coach. In this show, we cover topics related to metaphysics, Reiki, Vedic healing, and feng shui based upon my studies and practices in these disciplines. The aim of these shows is to help you create a successful spiritual practice that enhances your happiness, well-being, success, and productivity in the world so that you may become the best version of you. Welcome to today's episode. And when I was just doing the introduction, I thought of something else I wanted to say to you before I get into the episode. In these intros, I say that the aim of the shows is to help you create a successful spiritual practice that enhances all the good things in your life. But I also want to say that this spiritual practice helps you overcome obstacles, problems, negative conditions, even negative thought forms, emotions that each of us carries with us. So when we can move through these potentially debilitating energies in our lives, then we can really blossom. And it's this spiritual practice that helps us do both things simultaneously. It helps us dissolve all the negativity in our lives, and then it enhances all the positive qualities. So it's really a win-win situation. When you do this practice, you don't need to worry about any of the negative things in your life, because it's through the doing of the practice that you are going to naturally wash over all of that negative stuff, and all the positive energies will just start to emerge. So please know that this practice is so important, and it's going to solve everything in your life. So today, the title of this episode is How to Improve Your Sadhana Practice with 5 tips. So I'm going to give you 5 suggestions or tips to improve your daily spiritual practice, which we call our sadhana, from a Sanskrit word, sadhana. So I talk about these topics, and often there's overlap because it is really through repetition that we gain mastery. So sometimes we need to hear something over and over and over and over again, and finally it clicks. Therefore, some of these things that I may say in this podcast, in other podcasts, you'll say, oh, I heard her say something similar before. And maybe it's a new way of phrasing the same topic or the same suggestion, or it might even be expressed in just a little different way. Or what's interesting is you may be hearing the same thing that you've heard before, and this time it clicks. So there's I may have mentioned this before, but was an incident where somebody went to see Sri Satya Sai Baba in India and asked him, why is it that some people come to the ashram? An ashram is a spiritual center, and they might see the guru. They were talking about Sai Baba. They were specifically saying, Baba, why is it that some people come to see you year after year after year, and they aren't that much changed? But other people might come see you once or twice, and their whole life changes. And Baba said that it was just a matter of physics. He said, if you have this rock and this hammer, and you are hitting the rock with the hammer at a certain speed, he said, perhaps that rock will break after the rock will definitely break at that speed on the 21st blow. But he said the guru or the teacher could be blow number 7 or blow number 13, or could happen to be blow number 21. So the point is that the repetition is so important. We need to hear something over and over and over and over again. And sometimes we hear it from different sources, but eventually we get to blow number 21, where that teaching has an effect in the energy field. So as I go into these 5 tips today, you may say, that sounds familiar, or, I've heard that before from someone else or from me perhaps. This is how knowledge works sometimes. We have to hear something over and over and over and over again, and then it really has an effect in the energy field. The first time we hear it, it may not. It's just like when you're doing, let's say you're doing yoga asanas, and you move through a sequence, and you say, this has some effect. And then you do it a little more. It has greater effect. And then you do it a lot, and you say, oh my gosh, this is incredible. But you didn't know until you got to the 21 repetitions or the 21 days. In fact, that number 21, I'll just say this as an aside, they say is a special number. Like they'll say it takes 21 days to break a habit or 21 days to implement a new habit. So you might, as a challenge, and we've done these challenges before. We just did a 7-day challenge. We may do a 21-day challenge soon. But you may find that this 21 days is very significant in your life. So I'd like to encourage you, and I encourage myself also, because I'm always talking to myself as well, to stick with the process and to know that the repetition is important, to not give up easily. Never, never, never give up. Forget your age, forget your background, forget everything in terms of any self-deprecating thoughts. The only time you have is this moment. So we're going to begin in this moment. Accept this. Accept this as being true. This is the only moment that matters right now for our transformation. We can't go back in time and we can't go forward, but we can influence the future by what we do right now. I was just going to say, I've taught many women Reiki who have raised children. And when they come to learn Reiki, they say they regret they didn't learn earlier, but they were distracted with raising their children. Each of us has regrets, and we must give up these regrets and know that everything is perfect in our lives. So if you are listening to this and you are feeling like you are behind, or you're just kind of being self-critical, I'd like to suggest that you release that and know that you are in the perfect place, and this is the perfect moment, and everything you need is available right here and now. So let's move into these 5 suggestions that will hopefully, if you listen to this and implement them, will improve your sadhana, your daily spiritual practice. So the first thing is, and this is something that completely changed my life, and it is so important. So when I tell you what it is, I'd like you to listen to the rest of the explanation with an open mind. Okay, this is the time of day in which you do your practice. We are going to do this practice more than once, but at the very least, we're going to do it in the early morning hours. And when I say early morning hours, what changed my life was doing this at a time in India that it's referred to in India as a sacred time, as the Creator's time. It's the time in which the energy on the earth and in the universe is utterly peaceful and tranquil. It's called Brahma Muhurta. It is 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise. So wherever you are, and obviously the time changes during the year, so wherever you are listening to this, you'll have to look up what time sunrise is, and then figure out 1 hour. It's roughly an hour and a half, but it's 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise. Basically, it's the last quarter of the evening, right? Because if the evening goes from sunset to sunrise, we're going to catch the last quiet hours of the evening. Now, when you train your body to get up at this time, and this is why I'd like you to listen to this and not tune it out, because if I had heard this years ago, I would have said there's no way I can get up that early. But I'll tell you how you can get up that early in a minute. If you can get up at that time, you will tap into accelerated spiritual energies that are not available at other times of the day. We will do our practice at other times, but the energy is different. So how do you get up that early? And is it difficult? It is not difficult if you train your body. Now, we train our body through proper food, through proper exercise, through proper sleep habits, through the things we do before we retire. The energy of the evening is a time in which things are winding down. If you start to overstimulate or stimulate your body in the evening through loud music, through television watching, through too much computer time, looking at the phone, electronic devices, those will stimulate the brain. Through vigorous exercise, wrong eating, caffeine, drinking water too late. We want to drink enough water during the day, but we don't want to drink water after dinner. After a certain time, you'll figure out with your body when it's too late to consume any more water. But you want to calm down the energies in the evening, because you will be working in conjunction with the energies on the planet rather than against them. And then you will naturally start to want to rise earlier, because you are getting your body in alignment with nature. This is very easy for us to do when we find ourselves living in parts of the world that aren't so populated. Even maybe you're on vacation in a beautiful tropical place and you hear the birds getting up in the morning. You don't hear cars. It's very easy to do, but when you're living in a city, it's a little bit more difficult. However, you can do it. We all can do it. Don't stay up too late. You will wake the body up again, and then it's hard to sleep. So at first, if you are not waking up as early as you'd like to, you can't just suddenly go to bed earlier and say, okay, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. or 3:30, or, depending on where you are in the world. You want to catch that, and you don't have to be extremely strict about it down to the minute, but your body will start to naturally wake you up 1 hour, about an hour and a half before sunrise. So, try to move into this, but what I was saying is you can't just naturally go to bed earlier if your body is accustomed to going to bed at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Instead, you're going to have to trick yourself and wake up a little earlier. And that will be hard the first couple weeks, but I'm not saying immediately wake up an hour and a half before sunrise, because then you'll be exhausted during the day or you'll have to take a nap. Instead, you can train your body just by even 15-minute increments, getting up 15 minutes earlier, then another 15 minutes earlier, until you're at the right time, because then you will be more tired. You'll be tired earlier in the evening, so you'll be able to go to bed a little earlier. I've heard people say, I can't do this because I'm a night owl. And years ago, I heard an Ayurvedic doctor say, there are no such things as night owls. It's simply people who have gotten their bodies out of balance with nature. So this is so important. As I said, it changed my life to get up very, 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 very early and tap into this time. Try this. These are all just tips, they're suggestions, and I'm giving you the tools that they're not really so much things that I've discovered. There's nothing new. I'm repeating. I have learned practices from ancient India that the yogis and saints and swamis and gurus all advocate. And there was a reason. So I have understood the reasons behind these things, and then I tried them. I copied them and found in my practice, oh, this is why they say to get up so early. You will also squeeze more time out of your day. You'll say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got so much done and I've been up since 4 a.m. You will not need to take a nap. You will not need caffeine. You will not need coffee or tea. This will become a thing of the past. So it's a process, but I really hope someone out there listening is going to say, yes, I'm going to try that. So the second tip I'd like to give you today is to create rituals. So your sadhana is a practice, just like you go to the gym and you might do reps with let's say you're doing weights and you do 3 reps of 10. You're going to do sadhana reps. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is you're going to have a sequence you follow. Rituals in your practice. So you're going to say, and it's so much fun, really, but you're going to have a routine and you're going to say, okay, first I'm going to, after you wash your body, by the way, first thing we do is wash our body. It doesn't have to be a full shower, especially if you're going to go exercise, but you wash, brush your teeth, wash your face, and you're not doing your sadhana in your pajamas. No, because your sadhana is a respectful practice. So you're going to change into proper clothing, which can be your exercise clothing, your yoga clothing. And then you're going to follow a beautiful sequence that you create. So maybe you're going to, as I've said before, wake up your household quietly. You're going to light a diya in the early morning hours. It's so magical. A diya is an oil lamp, or you can use a candle. The flame, it's so beautiful. Early morning, it's so quiet. Quiet. And then you light this flame and there's no noise outside. It's such a still time. So you light this, and then maybe you light your incense and you pray in front of your altar. Maybe you and you offer the incense. And then perhaps you do your yoga asanas. I've said this before, your yoga asanas prepare you for the deeper states of meditation. So you'll do your yoga asanas, your breathing. What happens is your body, then when you sit down for your meditation and your rituals in front of your altar, your body feels stretched out and strong and flexible, and it's very comfortable to sit for your practice. So then you have your reps, the repetitions you're going to follow. You're going to say, I'm doing all of these chants. I'm doing this chanting, that chanting, this other chanting. I'm going to do this breathing. I'm going to do this meditation technique. I'm going to do this visualization. I'm going to do my journal writing. I'm going to read those spiritual texts that I would like to start my day with. So what happens is the reps get easier. You get faster. So, for instance, I chant many different mantras in the morning. And as you practice, you chant faster. Sanskrit is such an amazing language. It actually helps your brain. It has many benefits, but you chant, and the chanting, which once seemed a little bit challenging maybe because Sanskrit wasn't your first language, wasn't my first language. I didn't even grow up hearing Sanskrit. I fell into it in India and I fell in love with it. I fell in love also with the effects of the Sanskrit mantra chanting, just like I fell in love with the effects of meditation, with the effects of breathing, pranayama, with the effects of yoga asanas. You can only fall in love with these things when you do them. So you do them and you find, oh, there's change taking place in my being, in my body. I can feel this. I feel different. I feel more peaceful. I feel stronger. I feel more able to encounter life's challenges. I find that my worries are no longer there. I find that I'm dealing with fears more easily. So I've said before, problems will still be there in life. Obstacles will still be there. But we will meet them as challenges, not as forces that stop us in our tracks. Nothing can stop us. Nothing can take away this incredible inner strength, this presence. It is the presence of God that we are cultivating through this practice. So you will find these reps, your own sadhana reps, and you will amplify them. You'll say, wow, you'll kind of remark, wow, I'm going through those chants more quickly. That's wonderful. My lips are forming the sounds more readily. I feel stronger when I chant. I'm not stumbling over words I once stumbled over. When I'm doing my asanas, I'm flowing through the movements. So, and then you'll want more. And I want to say that more of this practice is just going to amplify everything you do in the world. And this is one reason we get up early, so that we can fit in a good deal of it. We love it so much, it must be part of our day. Just like washing your face is part of your day, you would never, once you enjoy sadhana, you would never skip. Nothing will stand in the way of your sadhana. The earth can be falling apart around you, and you will still be doing your practice. So that's tip number 2. Do your sadhana reps, your rituals, and you will find your groove with this. You will find what animates you and what is really helping you in your life, and then you'll do more of it. And you will be, and I'm saying this from personal experience, you will be thirsty for more knowledge. And that's where the teacher comes in. I sat for years with my guru and learned from him. And you want to absorb as much as you can from these teachers because, and it could be a book that's your teacher, because you know that this process is making a difference in your life. So you keep at it. Okay, the third tip or suggestion is your space. I'd like you to, and what about this space? I want you to do your sadhana in the same space every day. The space supports the practice, and the practice supports the space. They work together. It's a dialogue between the space and the practitioner and the space. it builds up energy. This room is no longer a room. This corner where you do meditation is no longer just a little corner where the two walls meet. This little spot on the floor that might be 5 feet by 3 feet is no longer just a spot on the floor. It's a sacred spot where you do your asanas. So the space is interesting too, because the space is ultimately your being, right? Because if you're doing this practice to change your internal state, or let's not say change, to get your internal state back to a place of remembering who it really is, the space is ultimately your being, right? So you carry this energy with you wherever you go. But the outer space supports you in the meantime. The outer space is a representation. It's of divine energy. It makes it so that things aren't so abstract. It's a sanctuary. So you have honored this space with flowers, fruit. Maybe you've offered fruit, incense, special lighting. No shoes. No shoes. You don't wear your shoes in your special meditation area, your special sadhana area, because the shoes are carrying the dirt from the outside world. So we create the space and make it as lovely and beautiful and peaceful as possible, because those energies are what we want to imbibe. They're what we want to remember. They already exist in us, but we want to call them forth again. The world can encourage us in many different ways to move into tendencies that we would not really like to display. Anger, greed, lust, just negative energies that we put forth, impurities in our being. The outer world can encourage these things, jealousy, competition. And so when we do our practice, we return to the natural state of awareness that exists deep within the being. And this practice of sadhana gets us deep within the being again. So your sacred space is important. It's going to support the practice. The fourth tip for today is to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. This will give you kind of a format, a blueprint for what you're doing. Just like the day has a morning, a middle, an end, so does your practice. You start with certain things, you do certain practices in the middle, and then you have an ending where you say thank you to the practice. Maybe you ring a bell when you're finished. Maybe you sing. You end with some sacred sound, some in the form of singing rather than chanting. We do devotional singing in the Vedic tradition called bhajans or kirtan. So you can chant a mantra. Let's say if you're chanting a Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Or you can sing it. And each one has value. It just creates a little different feeling in the space. Both of them open the throat chakra, by the way. And I've said also there are different ways of chanting, not just out loud. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you're going to greet your altar or your puja space or your meditation space, your prayer space, whatever you want to call it. You're going to do some offerings there. Then you'll do your practice. And then you'll end with some way to sign off. So you greet the day. When you do yoga asanas, you do Surya Namaskar. It's the sun salutation. You're greeting the day. You're saying hello to the sun, the Surya, the sun. You're greeting it and thanking it, that light. And you do the same thing in your meditation and your sadhana practice. You're greeting your altar. You're greeting the divine. And then you're worshiping through the practice that you do. And then you're signing off and saying, goodbye. Now it's time for me to take these energies that I have cultivated in my interaction with you, the divine wisdom, the creator, and take those into my day, into my work, into the world. And hopefully, and this is, herein lies the challenge, hopefully we do not allow the outer world to throw us off of that peaceful presence we have created through our practice. But this is the challenge. And we have this challenge every single day, in every moment. Don't be hard on yourself, because the worldly existence is quite challenging. If we could sit in meditation all day, we would think that we are very peaceful beings. And in that space, we might be very peaceful. But as soon as we go out into the world and we have to interact with all different people at all different levels of existence, with all different problems, with their own upsets and worries and problems and negative thoughts and negative emotions and perhaps nowhere to put those things. We must be grateful that we have at least awareness of this spiritual practice. So as we go out and we encounter other beings, we are challenged. We challenge one another every day. And not that we are perfect just because we are doing this practice. We challenge ourselves too. How are we going to be in the world? This is really quite an adventure. How are we going to interact and respond and communicate in this world? So the practice is the only thing that will save us and will wash over all the crummy things we have within us from this life, from past lives, and help bring us to a place of peace and tranquility and ultimately love for all. So the fifth tip, the fifth suggestion, is really just an inner suggestion, and it is that I would like to say, and I probably kind of said this at the beginning somewhere, unknowingly, to recognize that nothing is more important than your sadhana, and to make the commitment to this practice. Nothing is more important to nothing is more important than it, because it is the one thing that will transform us, not only so that, okay, now we're encountering life more easily. Maybe we find, oh, we're more happy, we're more peaceful. But also, I've said this before, ultimately, it will transform us so that when it's time to leave this space, when the body has had enough, this particular body is tired and is no longer able to sustain on this earth, what we carry with us is the energies that we have cultivated. And what we cultivate in sadhana is what we take with us. Certainly there are experiences we cultivate on the earth through our interactions with other people, but all of this is tempered by the energies within. And we purify those energies within through our sadhana. So you and I have only really one responsibility on this earth, and that is to purify ourselves by becoming aware again of whom we are as spiritual beings. In that awareness, we will evolve, we will grow, and we will help others around us also. And ultimately, again, when we leave, we take this energy with us. So, yes, we want pleasant existences here. We want our lives to be happy and successful, and this energy will also help us manifest, become productive, become successful, create our dreams. And, you know, I talk about different mantras and how they work to help us in different ways. We need all of the practice. It's all helping us on, it's helping each of us on different levels, in different levels of our being. So you may think when you're chanting for a purpose. Let's say you have selected a mantra for manifestation, and you say, I'm going to use this and try to move through the obstacles that are in the way of me manifesting this thing I'm working on. So you can use the mantra that way. But that mantra also is doing very, very mystical things in your being. It might be opening up abilities. It might be clearing your throat chakra. It might be making you more powerful. It might be dissolving fear. So, yes, it's going to help you with that thing that you want, but it has many layers to how it's going to help each of us. And there's absolutely no way to say really, or to express all the ways in which a mantra helps. So it's best when we chant to accept this mantra is an extraordinary force, a powerful gift that has been given to me. And many of the benefits are even things that I cannot put into words. It's just like when all of these techniques, actually, even working with a yantra, we can express, this is what I'm trying to say, we can express intellectually what this technique is supposed to do for us, but it also works on unseen, unheard, mystical levels. So for instance, when I teach the Gayatri Mantra class, I can talk about many reasons why this is considered the highest mantra in Sanskrit. Many reasons. But in the end, and I speak them in class, but in the end, I always say we must accept that this mantra is also doing things we don't even know. The power of these techniques is so grandiose. It's so grand. Why? Because the power of the divine is so immense and extraordinary, and it's impossible to put it into words. It is impossible, even if I were the greatest scholar on a certain practice, which I'm not, but if I, let's say I studied, it doesn't matter, whatever the practice is. If I said, wow, I studied, I think, everything I can, and now I feel really, really, really confident to speak on this, I really assert that there are levels which we cannot intellectualize. So we must accept these practices as being tremendously mystical. And in that acceptance, we understand and we surrender to the gifts they have to give us. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. In the end, we just surrender to those gifts. I've said this before. Guruji used to say, the highest, and he was an expert in yoga, the highest yoga is a life lived in complete surrender to the divine. So if somebody asked him about yoga, he didn't talk about asanas, he didn't talk about meditation, he didn't talk about breathing, he talked about philosophy. The highest yoga is a complete surrender, a life lived in complete surrender to the divine. So our practice of sadhana puts us in spaces of peace and tranquility and love and kindness and balance and focus and personal power. But we also surrender to the knowledge and the reality that this sadhana practice gives us so much on profound levels that we cannot even put into words, and we need not try to put into words. I hope this has been helpful. 5 suggestions to improve your sadhana practice. I'd love to hear from all of you. And if you like, you can reach out to me. The website again is reikiacademy.org, REIKI academy.org. That is one name that goes to also the Vedic healing teachings. They're all contained in one website. You will find a page if you're interested in Vedic healing, which is all of these wonderful techniques of sadhana, mantra chanting, meditation, and so forth. And there's Reiki on another page. Please drop a line, enter your email address, and in conclusion, I want to also encourage you on this practice. encourage you to reach out to let me know. Are you getting up early? What are your challenges? What are your main challenges with this practice? We can hear a teacher over and over and over again say, this is beneficial, do this, do this, do this, do this, like Sai Baba said with the rock. But at some point, there will be a 21st blow in your life, and you will say, aha, this is the aha moment. I'm understanding that this technique or method or whatever it is, practice, is really incredible. So I hope maybe this will be blow number 21 for you. And I don't mean that in any aggressive way. I'm not really trying to hit you over the head with a hammer, but blow number 21 in that you say, this is the day where it's really clicked that I need to do my sadhana and I need to commit to it more. Because if you don't hear it today, that's okay. You'll hear it over and over again. And the reason you'll hear it is because something in you is attracted to these techniques, or you would not have, well, certainly you wouldn't have listened this far in the podcast. You would have said, oh, this is boring. But for some reason, you're attracted to this path of yoga, of transformation. And I am here as a support if anybody would like to reach out. Remember also on the website, there's an introductory course to mantra practice if you would like to begin that practice. And also we will have, if it's not already on the website, there'll be a free guide about sadhana that we will email out to people. So please just reach out, reikiacademy.org, and I'm happy to lend any assistance. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Om Sai Ram. Om Amriteshwariye Namaha. Jai Guruji. Hare Krishna. Om Namah Shivaya.